Thanks for checking out this haul video. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to rate and review all of the Vinegar Syndrome April releases that I ended up with. And yeah, this was more good stuff than I thought there would end up being in here. But yeah, I'll go through them again. What I'm starting with is what I liked the least, and what I end with is what I liked the most. So going from least awesome to most awesome, and I'll give you a little bit of info about each of them. I do not watch the commentaries, though. I do have to throw that out there. I just don't have the time to watch commentaries, but all Vinegar Syndrome releases do come with commentaries, as well as, cinematograph, degosser, all that stuff. So anyway, let me go with, there's only 4 of them, by the way. Let me go with my number 4 to start off, and that is Devil Doll plus Curse of the Voodoo. Devil Doll is the film to get this for if you are interested in Devil Doll. These are 60s films. They're pretty decent. Well, I wasn't a big fan of Curse of the Voodoo, but let me talk about Devil Doll first, and then I'll talk about Curse of the Voodoo. So Devil Doll is basically about a reporter who ends up experiencing this performance by this magician slash ventriloquist, and then seeing some really wild stuff that ends up going on with the ventriloquist dummy, hence Devil Doll. And he wants to figure out what's really going on. Now, the doll has demonic aspects to it, and people end up getting killed, and that's basically all you need to know story-wise. It's pretty well acted. It's shot really well. The restoration looks great, and it's a pretty decent story. It's pretty effective. It has really good atmosphere. It's legitimately creepy. I did actually like this film. This is good. So even though this is my last ranked release, it is not because I didn't like it. I like Devil Doll on here. Well, let me backtrack. The reason that some releases end up going higher when you would think that I would put it lower, or lower when you would think I would put it higher, has to do with me looking at the releases as a whole. It's not just about how much I like the movies. It's also about all the special features included. So I wrap all that together in figuring out where things should go. So Devil Doll is pretty cool. This has a few special features, not a ton. A few about Devil Doll, a few about Curse of the Voodoo. So for films being as old as they are, I think they did a pretty good job with the special features in here. There's also an essay. Let me remember what that was called. I don't think they had 2 in here, because it was a little bit since I did these. Yeah, Doll and Lion Man, Lindsay Shonteff's early forays into English exploitation, which is interesting to kind of get an idea of what this filmmaker was doing other than these 2 films, because it is one filmmaker that did these films. So yeah, but Devil Doll's a good one. I did enjoy that one. So now let me switch to talking about Curse of the Voodoo. So I'll just flip it around. So Curse of the Voodoo, not a huge fan of this one, mainly because it is very slow, and it's not that fun. There are a few decent scenes to it. The whole premise is this white dude who's a big game hunter ends up going to Africa. He ends up killing a lion, but little does he know that the lion is this god that is being prayed to by a local tribe, and then they're after him, basically. He goes back to New York City, and they're, he keeps seeing them everywhere, and they're kind of coming after him. So it's that type of film. I'm not a big fan of things like cannibal movies or like voodoo movies or stuff like that, so that's another aspect to it, but it is very slow. I didn't like this film nearly as much as I liked Devil Doll. So those are my thoughts on this release of Devil Doll and Curse of the Voodoo. Make up your own mind if you're interested. That's my number 4. All right, so going to my number 3, this is another one that I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, I don't know. It doesn't really look like my type of thing. It looks like haunted house type thing. Another subgenre of horror that I'm not a big fan of, but that is The Nesting. This is my number 3. Didn't love the movie. Again, just like Curse of the Voodoo, pacing is not great. It's pretty slow. It feels very repetitive at times, but there are some pretty good stuff. Sorry, I worked a whole day. There are some pretty good things in this film that give you some fun aspects to it. When they're actually having these like supernatural things happening, that's a lot of fun. I like the way they pull that off. The shooting location is really cool. It's like this octagonal home that they actually talk about in the special features. Very interesting shooting location. The acting is quite good, especially the main actress, who a lot of people in the special features actually talk very highly of about her performance. Like, numerous people comment on it, like, she did such a great job. She did such a great job. And she did. She really brought the realism for that character. But it's basically about a woman who's a writer, and she's an agoraphobic as well. And she ends up going away to a secluded home where she thinks she can, do some more writing. And then weird ghostly things start happening in the house. And it's this kind of investigative thing of her trying to figure out what's actually going on. Meanwhile, she has some really creepy dudes kind of coming at her, and ghostly things get between them. That's all I'm going to say about that. But it's a very simple premise. It's an interesting premise. They just really draw it out, unfortunately, and it feels kind of repetitive. But I can see some people really liking this. And I would say, if you are someone who's already seen this film and you are a fan of it, this is a great release to get. This one is a 4K, as you can see. First of all, the artwork on this is unbelievable. I love the artwork on this. If I was going to say which release wins for artwork for this month, it is The Nesting. I love this artwork. It's phenomenal. Now, that said, it also is very packed with special features. If you can look, this is a listing of all these special features that are there. Very interesting stuff about how the film was made, people involved with it, kind of their experiences with the film. And then they also throw in a booklet with it. So there are some essays, including Nightmares in the Dream House, looking back at the 1981 horror film The Nesting, which is very helpful with giving you an idea of maybe some things you may not have thought of watching the film, some more contextual things that you should be pulling out of it, kind of metaphorical meanings in the film. So this is a very good release. I just didn't love the film that much, and I think it's a great release. Like I said, if you've seen this film and you like it, you should 100% pick this up, because it is jam-packed with some really great special features and an essay, and it looks great. It's very good. So The Nesting. That's my number 3. Now coming into my number 2, which was one I purchased in addition. This was not included with my subscription because no Cinematograph films are. Excuse me. Drop Zone. This one, basically, I'm not going to tell you too much story-wise. If you've seen Point Break, which I know a lot of people have seen Point Break, it is basically Point Break, but for skydiving. That's surfing. This is skydiving. You can tell it was highly inspired by that. And it's fun. It's a fun, ridiculous, over-the-top 90s action film starring Wesley Snipes, and has Gary Busey as the bad guy in this film. So, I mean, if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what does. They did an excellent job on how they shot these skydiving sequences. And that's something they actually talk about in the special features and actually talk about in the essays as well. Like how uncommon that was to have that in film, and the lengths they went to actually capture that and make it look realistic. They were really trying to capture the whole culture that was around skydiving, and you get that a lot from I think it was the producer of the film who was involved. Producer Wallace Necedah. Yeah. So she was talking about, like her idea behind the origin of the film and just the culture of skydiving and how interesting that was to her and how they wanted to capture that in the film. And it looks great. The cinematography is phenomenal with that film. The action is a lot of fun. This is a fun film. It's not like a phenomenal film. It's not as good as Point Break. It's not as engaging with as good a performances as Point Break, but you're going to have a fun time. You know, if what I said about this film as far as story goes sounds interesting to you, yeah, you're going to have a good time. But yeah, plenty of skydiving and crime going on here. It is one of those films, though, like you would assume, because it is one of those over-the-top action films from the 90s where don't think too much, you know, like don't question the logic gaps of this film. Just turn your brain off and go with it. And then, of course, I'm always a huge fan of the essays, and the Cinematograph releases always have the essays. By the way, this one is 4K as well. Looks phenomenal on 4K. They did such a good job with it. They have In Defense of Drop Zone. So basically saying, hey, this didn't do the best when it was released in theaters, but hear me out on why it's actually good. Then The Most Adrenaline Soaked of Them All, kind of talking more about its role with 90s action films. There were a few essays in this one, so it was pretty packed. Fear of a Black Star, Wesley Snipes' 1990s action hero. That one was particularly interesting. I didn't see that coming as an essay because it was basically about his role as an African American in the film industry at that point, and talking about kind of what roles he really felt like he could go for versus not go for, and how that affected his career. Very, very interesting. Then we have There's No Eye in the Sky, Teamwork in Drop Zone, which is kind of talking a bit about the extra characters that they end up having in the film, and just kind of some of the dynamics of the characters and the story itself. Very good release for Cinematograph if you're into fun action. This was their first release of an action film in the Cinematograph line, so I'd be down for more. Definitely be down for more. Anyway, my number 2, Drop Zone. Now that leads me to number 1, and if people know what was being released for the month, you know what it is. Okay, I need to see how I'm holding. Okay, this is how I'm going to hold it, because there's nipples, drawn nipples. So, Murder Rock also has great artwork on this one, but not as good as The Nesting. So, this was my number 1, because it's a combination. I did like the movie. It's not the best, and I could see why a lot of people would not end up liking this movie, but a little bit of a disclaimer, I'm a huge Giallo fan. It is my comfort subgenre of horror. I love it. So even the terrible Giallo films, I'm going to like to some degree. Now, I wouldn't say this is one of the terrible ones. It does get a bit slow pacing wise, and the story's kind of a little and the end reveal of who the killer is also a little but this is a Lucio Fulci film. That's another thing. I do like Lucio Fulci films. And this is one that he did after New York Ripper, which was very sleazy and had tons of gore in it. This one is the opposite. It's not, well, it is a little bit sleazy. There's a decent amount of nudity in there. But the gore and the brutality and the violence of it is very dialed back, especially in comparison to New York Ripper. And they actually talk about that in their essay booklet here. Again, love the essays. Now, this has a lot of special features. I was pointing out that The Nesting had a lot of special features. Murder Rock had even more special features, so this is jam-packed. So this is one of the reasons that it is as high as it is. I thought the movie was a good time. It's not a good movie, but it's a good time. And it is packed. It has so many special features. It has some really good essays talking about the film and talking about Fulci's career and this film in particular. Also talking about the music and the role of the music in this, and just like there's one essay that's like music in film at that time, and kind of citing a bunch of different films. But yeah, so basically, if you want to know a little bit about the Giallo-esque story behind, or the Giallo story behind it, is that it's some people who are women actually, who are all competing. Sorry, it's one of those days. They're all competing for a limited amount of spaces for this dance performance. And so all of a sudden, some of them who are in contention for these roles start turning up dead. And it's this thing. It's like this hat pin. That's what they call it in the essays. Like it's a hat pin that ends up getting like driven through the hearts of the people after they've been chloroformed. So the kills are interesting enough. The story's a little bit slow, like I said. Interesting enough characters. It's a Giallo. I mean, if you like Giallo, you'll like it. Plus, it's really well shot, because Fulci has always shot things quite well. So, yeah. Now, let me say the special features. There's a decent amount. Again, I'll just do the same thing and just show you that kind of... Yeah, look at all those special features. Same as like I did with The Nesting. Also, that's some pretty good artwork right there. All right, now let me tell you about the essays. Murder Rock, Dancing Death. That's another name for it. A Dance Macabre in Leg Warmers. That's the one kind of talking about the the music of it. Then there was This Is Your Town, You Can Make It. Lucio Fulci's American Dream. This was the one kind of talking about where his career was going, and you know, the comparison of like Murder Rock versus New York Ripper, and how Fulci kept liking to go back to New York City throughout his career. And then I think the third one's the last one, yeah. Let the Bodies Hit the Dance Floor, Murder Rock and a Brief History of Dancing in the 1980s Horror Film. Yeah, very specific. That's a very specific essay. And that's one of the things I love about the essays that Vinegar Syndrome ends up putting out, is it's not necessarily just always going to be like that really straightforward stuff that you think it is. I got to make sure the boobs are covered again. Where it's just like, oh, it's going to be someone doing an essay of like the career of the lead actor, and then an essay about why this film is a good time. No, they do some kind of things. They take approaches that you wouldn't necessarily think. And that whole thing about dancing in horror films in the 80s, very unexpected, but very cool. It's always interesting to read that stuff. So this is a outstanding release, in my opinion. That's why Murder Rock by Lucio Fulci is my #1 Vinegar Syndrome release for April. So that's it. So let me know your thoughts, especially if you've seen these or you bought these. Go ahead and put it in the comments. What would your thoughts be on these? Or what sounds good to you, or what doesn't sound good to you? And also, if you had any pickups recently that you want to get nerdy about, you can do that as well. But go ahead and comment. Do me a quick favor. Hit subscribe to my channel if you like any of the work I put out. Even just one video, including this one. Please subscribe to the channel. It's a great way to show your support. And also just watching helps. It literally helps make me a modicum of income from this stuff. And if you want to get a little more involved, though, for some perks, I do have memberships available for the channel. That's linked in the description. I have 3 levels, including the top level possession, getting you extra content that no one else is going to get. It's kind of like vlog-ish style shorts. And actually, I will tell you right now, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm going through my physical media collection here little by little and doing hidden gem videos for the possession level members. It's a fun time. There's other stuff too, but anyway, also thumbs up on the video helps you with that YouTube algorithm. That's another free way to help me out. And you can hit the notification bell button if you want to know when I'm putting up new videos. But regardless, thank you very much for taking your time to watch this. I really do appreciate that. It literally humbles me knowing that people choose to use their time watching me talk to a camera sometimes. It's weird, but thank you so much. And until next time, keep it brutal.